And you thought it was going to be a quiet offseason.
If anything has taught you as an LSU fan, and I guess even a Saints fan for that regard, having a quiet offseason is never in the deck of cards in the state of Louisiana. There's always something going on. There's always some chaos brewing. I'm sure you're here to talk about Bo Davis leaving for the New Orleans Saints. There are so many different angles that we got to take here. If you remember last Wednesday, we only did a 30-minute show, and I lost my godforsaken mind about the defensive line room. A lot of you told me it was random that I lost my mind on the defensive line room. Interesting. Not so random anymore. We'll talk about Bo Davis going to the Saints. What does it mean? Where is LSU going? What now for LSU? Here's a hot take. Is the LSU defensive tackle room been the worst position group for LSU over the last 7 years? That is the question I'm going to pose. We got a lot we have to discuss on the field. Everybody wants to talk about recruiting, rebuilding that room. It's where it starts. Guys, it's been the worst room that you've had the last 3 years at minimum. Sorry to say that. A lot of people would want to say secondary. It's not the secondary. It's not safety play. It's not safety play. As bad as we want to say safety play has been, and yes, we can make that argument, but for over a 3-year span, it's not close. Not considering the games that you've lost and what has happened to you in the running game and how that defensive line has got to get better. Early names for LSU when it comes to defensive line, I guess reported it, but Wilson Alexander also confirmed it. I do expect Kevin Peoples to take over the D-line room. What I can tell you, I would expect the defensive line meeting within the next 24 to, let's not even go that drastic, within the next couple of hours. I would expect it. Within the next couple of hours, and I'm sure that you'll hear about that. We'll also talk about this from the Saints' perspective. A lot of you are pissed off at the New Orleans Saints right now. You should be pissed off at the New Orleans Saints right now, quite honestly, considering how this coaching staff stuff has gone between the Saints. But there's another angle to this. There's also an angle in this where you cannot be pissed off at the New Orleans Saints. If Kellen Moore thinks that Bo Davis can help him and guide him defensively in the biggest position group for him, one of the biggest position groups for him, to a playoff and Super Bowl, you got to go make it happen. You can't just say, well, it's LSU. We can't do that. So there's multiple angles to take it in here too. So let me do this. This show, which will be live back again at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, if everything goes well at the chiropractor. I did make some news yesterday. Last Wednesday, too, the reason we only had a 30-minute show was your boy was in serious pain. I still am in serious pain. I'm going to a chiropractor. Your boy's trap and neck, like right up in here, this whole section. Your boy slept on his neck wrong. I'm in some serious pain. So we'll try to be back for 6, but depending on how that goes, we will see. But we got lots that we got to talk about here today. This show is brought to you by our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, go over to betonline.ag. March Madness right around the corner. A lot of college basketball that you can bet on. Use the promo code BELIEVE50. That's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50 to receive a 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts. Also, this show is brought to you by our good friends over at ServiceHawk Digital Media. As they soar above the competition, business referrals, websites, guys, they are literally in the greater Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and North Shore areas. They are the best when it comes to helping your business get digital leads. That is why we have teamed up with them, because I trust in them and I know that they can help your business. Need referrals, run a business, need help with a website, go over to our good friends over at ServiceHawk Digital Media. Also, I need all of your help in doing something for me. I need all of you right now to do me a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to all those groups if you're on Facebook. Share to all those social media pages. Watching us, listening to us on YouTube, like, subscribe, notification bell, send it to everybody. I know a lot of you in these group chats on Twitter. Send it to them. Send it to them. I know y'all all up in here listening. I know y'all all up in here. Send it to him. Say Blake's about to break it down. Let's go listen to what he's got to say. Also, you're listening to us on the audio podcast. Do us a favor, rate, review, and subscribe. About this time every year, somebody comes in there and gives us a 1-star rating. Oh, boy. If you haven't done so already, please go over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating if you don't mind. Always a travesty this time of year. All right. Let's get rolling here. In case you missed it, Bo Davis, the LSU defensive line coach or defensive tackles coach, was reported today that he is going to be going to the New Orleans Saints. I've been thinking about this since early this morning on how I would lead into this. What do you say going into this? I think the number one thing, let's start with the LSU angle clearly. It's just another year where you have zero consistency in the interior of your defensive line. Guys, since 2020, you have had Bill Johnson, Andre Carter, Jamar Cain, Jimmy Lindsey, John Jancic, Pete Jenkins, Bo Davis. So in 5 years, you've had 7 coaches that have had some hands on or being a full-time defensive line coach at LSU since 2020. There's been zero consistency at the position. Last offseason, you made a massive move by going into Texas, into Austin, who will spend more money than you. Let's call it what it is. And you got Bo Davis to come home. It was a big deal. We talked about in year one for Bo Davis, look, you cannot judge him based off of it. He's got a lot that he's got to rebuild there. I thought he did a decent job with what he had, and I thought that after this recruiting class, he can continue to build that if he stays and you have some consistency. More than Bo Davis, more than the track record of Bo Davis, more than anything on God's given earth, there is one thing that it doesn't matter who the coach is or what's going on. LSU's biggest issue is that they don't have consistency at that position group. It has hurt you. It has desperately and drastically hurt you every single year. Last offseason, the biggest conversation that you and I had was about the interior defensive line. We thought it would be better because it wasn't. Quite frankly, it wasn't. It was about what the same of what you should have expected and the play that we got. Scheme changed. Personnel changed. It was the same product on the field when it comes to what actually happened and the results of things. You have to, in this hire, you cannot miss at this defensive tackle position group. Now, what you could do is you could promote Kevin Peoples, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. You can promote Kevin Peoples, let him take over the entire defensive line group, go to him, let him be there and say, hey, who are some assistants and analysts that you want to help you along the defensive line? There's a potential that you could have the consistency with Kevin Peoples. I don't believe Kevin Peoples would leave without Blake Baker. If Blake Baker has a good year and the Tulane job opens up, then you're back in the same exact spot that you were right now. You need consistency. The problem that I have with Kevin Peoples taking over full-time is that you have got to make a solidified stance at DT. It is a must. It's not an opinion. It is a must. You have to do this because you never know what the future holds. Now, we're going to talk about names and early prospects in just a moment. But I have to pose a question. The question that I've brought up earlier and the question and the things that you and I have talked about LSU defensively, has the defensive line group been the biggest weakness for LSU over the past, let's just call it since 2020? Let's not even talk about since 2020. Let's talk about the last 3 years or the first 3 years under Brian Kelly. Guys, I've brought this up to you before. I've brought up this scenario to you before, but you cannot ignore what is going on along the defensive line. Of the 8 SEC losses that you've had over the last 3 years, I tweeted this out just in case you not listening or you missed it, but I'll go through it in depth here. Since 2022, in every SEC loss, LSU defensively has given up 257.88 rushing yards per game per loss. LSU's front seven has been the biggest issue for them over the last 3 seasons. I look at 2022, when Tennessee came into town, you gave up 263 rushing yards. In a loss to A&M in 22, you gave up 274. In the SEC championship game, you gave up 255. You move over to 2023 against Ole Miss on the road, you gave up 317. Against Alabama on the road, you gave up 288. This past year against A&M, you gave up 242. Against Alabama this year, you gave up 311. And the only game that you have lost in the SEC that a team didn't go above 200 was Florida, and they only had 113. The reason that you continue to get your doors blown off in these high-profile situations, I've said this once. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. You are physically getting dominated up front. Teams do not run for 263, 274, 317, 311, and you're physically not getting beat up. When Jamar Cain left in 2023, the spring of 2023, it came during spring. It came during spring practice, and I will tell you what happened there from my POV. The news broke, and we were in a press conference. I walked out of the press conference to start figuring out what was going on. I saw Jamar. Jamar was on this show, and I like Jamar Cain. I like him a lot. Have a relationship with him. Things did not go in a right direction between the former DC and him. That is the truth. He left. The first year and the issues that you had against Tennessee, A&M, and Georgia are not on him. Didn't necessarily have the personnel. Your defensive tackle that you had in Mason Smith got injured in game 1. Not that I completely believe that it would have mattered either way. I really don't think it would have mattered. But when I look at each and every position group for LSU, offensively, let's go there. Wide receiver, no. Tight end, no. Offensive line, no. Running back, no. Wide receiver, no. Quarterback, hell no. Defensively, you've had some guys on the edge like B.J. Ojolari. You've had guys like Braden Swinson who will be drafted. You could make an argument that your DB room has been arguably one of the worst rooms that you've had in the last 3 years. But, guys, the problem with that is that they have not necessarily – they have in some instances. Against Ole Miss, they did. But they have not been as bad consistently in these high-profile games through the air than what has been going on here. Like I think of the Ole Miss game this year. I think of the Alabama game this year. You have gotten obliterated in run defense. There is no bigger weakness in my humble opinion. And it's why I flashed out last Wednesday. Now y'all think this shit's random. Y'all think I just come out here and just do shit at random. Just freak out at random. No, it doesn't happen that way, man. But again, I look at all of those things, 263, 274, 255, and all of these big-time SEC profile games where you're getting beat. You got to make them. Brian Kelly, let me say it like this. Brian Kelly has got to make a move to solidify that position group. You thought you did it with Bo Davis. On Bo Davis's end, let's talk about this. I don't think it has anything to do for Bo Davis. Actually, I'm not thinking. I don't think it has anything to do with Brian Kelly. I think it's a very strategic play by Bo Davis. I think it was a strategic play by Kellen Moore. But if you're Bo Davis, you've been in the NFL and you go in there for 2 or 3 more years in the NFL, you get an NFL pension. It's a play for him. A coach that's been in the game a long time and that's coming to the end of his career that could use a pension. Guys, it's not, for what it's worth, it's not rocket science to figure out how good of a play it is for him to head back to the NFL. On the Saints side of things, for Bo Davis, you for sure are more than likely going to get more than 1 year, if not 2 to 3 years, to be able to fix things up. You have some young talent in that room for the Saints that you can feel with Brian whatever his name is, the Bracey kid, Brzee, excuse me. You have some talent there. But the thing that I think that Bo making that move makes total sense from the aspect of where he's looking at. Brian Kelly and LSU doesn't make the playoffs this year. There's a lot of people in hot water. Let's call it what it is. A lot of questions that are going to have to be asked. But guys, you cannot and you will not. How about this? You will not do anything of relevance. Nothing of relevance will come to you until you start being better in your front seven. Now, well, Blake, how does that affect this year? I don't know yet. I have zero clue of how it affects you right now. Here's what I do know. What I do know is you cannot spare money. You cannot spare who you need to go after. You need the ultimate consistency. You need to make a big splash, even bigger than Bo Davis. You got to go out there and make sure that at least for a 2-year span that you have a defensive line coach that will stay here. Some of you are going to make some crazy, how do I want to say this? Some of you are going to make some crazy things and say some crazy things on, well, what about Ed Orgeron? Guys, start being a little bit realistic. What about Jamar Cain? Personally, this is my God's honest opinion. I think Jamar Cain has, for what it's worth, has burned too many bridges. Would it completely shock me if he were ever to come back at LSU? No. And I love Jamar Cain. He's burned too many bridges by the pettiness of what he's shown on Twitter. And I love the dude. I love him. And Brian Kelly has shown that, look, I've made some mistakes bringing back Blake Baker and Corey Raymond. But you got to go into this and have stability. This is the first time that you've actually have depth along your interior defensive line. What happens now when that spring portal window opens? What happens? Let's talk about Kevin Peoples. Kevin Peoples' expertise has been on the exterior of the defensive line, at edge. I don't think that Kevin Peoples will be outmatched, and I don't think that Kevin Peoples, who's done this before, having total defensive lines at multiple stops, he's had full defensive lines. Like, I look at Kevin Peoples, and I just want to pull this up here. Kevin Peoples was the entire defensive line coach at Indiana and at Tulane. So this isn't new to a guy that's been in coaching for a long time. His expertise is what you do at edge. Could you go there? Yes. I think you need to go get somebody else along that interior defensive line. I don't think you remotely have a choice, because I think that there comes a recruiting aspect of this. There becomes an aspect of this where you need somebody that can solidify a position that's been a revolving door. Guys, again, the only one that you could say that you have an excuse in would be 2023. The excuse there is that Jimmy Lindsey got ill, and you were, quite frankly, you were doing anything you can and anything that you could to patch that position up at the time and date that you did. Because 7 different coaches, now it will be 8, along that position group is abysmal. It is horrible. It is. There's no other way to mince those words. The room has depth, but you got to make the right hire to make sure that some of those guys still want to be here. The money piece. Guys, LSU's about to spend probably close to around 18 to 20 plus $1 million on their roster next year. You don't do what you did in the portal, and you're not touching close to in TV revenue share. You're not coming close to spending. You're going to be well north of 18 to 20 million dollars in the money that you spend. You went in this offseason and you went all in. You got to patch up and fix this defensive line room. Is there somebody out there that can help you? I want to keep if it were my choice, it's not my choice. If it were my choice, I'm keeping Kevin Peoples on the exterior until I can make a decision. By the way, you do not have a defensive line. You do not have a D-line analyst that was behind Bo Davis. You better go hire some. You better go do it now. What's Ryan Nielsen up to? We're going to talk about that in a minute, too. Saints, you stupid son. God bless. That part pisses me off. LSU football will never win anything of relevance until you start stopping the run. It has been a big talking piece for me. A lot of you have gotten pissed off at me. A lot of you. Because we bring it up so much. Guys, there's one thing that I know, and I know for a fact. If you keep giving up 257.88 rushing yards per game in these high-profile situations and high-profile games, you're not making a playoff? We're talking about the playoffs? You're not going to make it to a playoff. You're not going to. We keep talking about playoffs. We keep talking about you got to stop the run. By the way, don't make me, please, dear Lord, do not make me go on the opposite side of the football and talk about the rushing yards that you have had in some of these losses. Without Jaden Daniels, you did nothing special. 0. The game of football is won on both lines of scrimmages. I know, and being in this show for 25 minutes, what a lot of you are going to say. Oh, Blake's fear-mongering. It ain't fear. This is not fear-mongering. Fear-mongering would be saying that I don't like Bo Davis leaving, and I think it could keep you out of a playoff. I don't believe that, but if I wanted to fear-monger you, it's what I'd say. Guys, this is a reality. So you can put your purple and gold glasses on. You can spin it any which way you want to. But the outright truth is, until LSU starts getting better along their defensive line and getting back to who they were before this revolving door defensive line started, you're not getting to a playoff. You won't get to a playoff. I've seen a lot of and I warned you about this last Wednesday. I've seen a lot of national media coming out here saying, oh, LSU is for sure making a college football playoff. Big dog. Jaden Daniels was a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter for what your ultimate goal was. It did not matter that he was that great because you kept allowing teams like Ole Miss and teams like Alabama on average run for 300 yards on you. I don't give two Rudy Poos that it's a quarterback. I don't give two Rudy Poos where the running game's coming from. You got your ass whooped. So people can be mad at me. People can point and say whatever they want. That is a reality. before we get to some names that have been brought up early, I don't think LSU fully knows yet, if I'm being honest. I think they have an idea where they want to go. They don't know who they want to hire yet, unless something magical happens within the next hour. Let's talk about the Saints pulling this move off. I know that you're upset that the Saints just plucked Bo Davis from your defensive line room if you are an LSU fan. And most Saints fans are LSU fans, I would assume. Most LSU fans are Saints fans, I would assume. There's a two-prong approach that I want to take with this from the Saints side and LSU side. As an LSU guy, an LSU media guy, I absolutely positively hate this. As also being a Saints fan, if you think that Bo Davis is the guy that can help mold that defensive line and that defense to help you to get where you want to go, you hold those bars regardless if it's LSU or anybody. Kellen Moore, for what it's worth, and I got to give him credit. Kellen Moore don't give two shits about what you think when it comes to building his staff. He has done an exceptional job at building this staff. I love the Doug Nussmeier move with him because he trusts him, and he's going to be the one calling plays. He trusts Brandon Staley. A lot of people like Brandon Staley as the DC. Good for him to go in there. Bringing in Bo Davis. Guys, it's a great hire for him. It sucks that the Saints are the one doing this to LSU. I also am old enough to remember the whole Ryan Nielsen thing and Sean Payton blocking that, and it probably was the best thing for Ryan Nielsen when Ed Orgeron was going after him. There is a level of respect that goes into this, but here's the truth too. Alpha males don't ask questions when it comes to being successful. They don't care about your feelings when it comes to being successful. I am upset that this has happened. As an LSU guy through and through, I am not happy that it's happening. I'm also not going to get mad at the Saints at pointing out Bo Davis, the guy that they wanted. They went and got him. I don't think you can be mad at him. It sucks. It puts LSU in a tough position. There are probably other defensive line coaches that you could have gone after and not have hurt LSU. That is the truth. But it's not as if the Saints really give a shit about you, because they don't. They don't care about you. Yesterday, Mickey Loomis made an announcement that Derek Carr was going to be their quarterback and that we can win with him. You don't believe that. Come out and say what you really want to say. You don't think that you can go up and move up to get a quarterback that you could replace Carr with. The toxicity around the relationship between LSU and the Saints has been one that people do not want to talk about, but it's real. It is very real. I don't want to sound like I'm copying out here, because you love and hate the move all in the same ordeal. If the Detroit Lions come in here, which Bo Davis was actually a part of that staff at one given point, if they come in here and take them, you're like, man, screw the Lions. Screw the Lions. But because it's the Saints, it hits literally closer to home. And it sucks. I just don't know. I don't know from that angle how upset I can be. They literally thought that Bo Davis was the guy that they needed to bring in. What do you do? Guys, if you're Kellen Moore, what do you do? Like, I'm asking you all in the chat in here too. What do you do? If you think that Bo Davis would be the guy and can be the guy to help mold your defensive line, do you really, like, just because he's at LSU, do you not do it? Do you go somewhere else? Possibly, but then you don't think, alpha males just don't think about that. Beta males do. I can't hate it. right? Like I can't hate it from their angle. But what I can do is and say, you're not getting, if you're Kellen Moore, you're just not getting off to a great start when it comes to specific things. It's not a great look that you're keeping Derek Carr. It's not a great look from your fan base, that especially the LSU side of things, that you're taking Bo Davis after LSU's had issues along the defensive line. I love the staff that Kellen Moore is putting together. You're making moves because you don't care about what the fans think, and I'm glad that you're doing that. But when shit turns sideways, and shit is going to turn sideways with Derek Carr at quarterback, when shit starts turning sideways, this place, and Mickey Loomis should know better. They ain't going to defend your ass. First time you start going on a losing streak, the LSU fan base that Saints media really thinks that they know, but they really don't. This LSU fan base is going to obliterate you. Saints Twitter is not going to win a battle over LSU Twitter. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Man. Rough. All right, last thing here. And then I'm going to get to all your thoughts, questions, concerns. Here's what you can do. Want your comment read for 100%? Send in a super chat. Have a question about anything, send it in. We'll get to them. What are some names to know? Look, Eric Henderson, the co-DC defensive line coach at USC. I've heard a lot of conflicting things on him. The conflicting things are very simple. I think that he has around a $2 million buyout. I can't confirm that because USC is a privately run university. What I can confirm is that there are people saying for Eric Henderson, he's making $2 million a year to be a co-DC. That is false. Here's the thing that I'm going to say about every single one of these hires when it comes to money. You literally, if you're LSU, you literally showed the world that from a money perspective, you are going all in. You spend a ridiculous amount of money in the portal. You're going to spend a ridiculous amount of money in TV revenue, which really wasn't like on you, but you have to do it. You spend a ridiculous amount of money on your head coach. You spend a ridiculous amount of money on your DC. Before Mike Denbrock left, guys, you were making Mike Denbrock the highest paid offensive coordinator in the country. LSU cannot mince money when it comes to going and getting whoever they want. Why are you going to hold back money now when you need a D-line coach? If that's the way that you want to go, why are you going to mince money when you need stability and you need consistency? There's nothing more that LSU defensively needs than consistency along the interior defensive line. Me and Wilson Alexander, I'll share this. We shared a phone call this morning. In that phone call, and he posted this on Twitter, and I had posted it too. I didn't put his spin on it with Jacoby and Guillory. Guys, Jacoby and Guillory has been here, the defensive tackle for LSU, since 2020. This is going to be his eighth defensive line coach. Eighth. Technically, you could make it ninth because Kevin Peoples, by the end of the day, is going to be his interim defensive line coach. I do not want to hear anybody, sources, staff, AD personnel, coaches, I do not want to hear one single word about money. Ohio State went in a $20 million deficit to win a national title. They did everything they had to do to go and do it. Everything. They did not, listen, they did everything to go out there and win a national title. If Eric Henderson has a massive buyout and that is the guy that you want, I don't want to hear a peep about money. I don't want to hear one single inkling about money. Guys, you're going to be north of $20+ million in money that you're spending on your roster. And you're going to sit here and you're going to tell me, well, this guy's got a big buyout. Guys, 2020, Bill Johnson. 2021, Andre Carter. 2022, Jamar Cain. 2023, Jimmy Lindsey and John Jancic. 2024, Bo Davis. 2025, you're going to have a new interior defensive line coach. And you're trying to sell to me that money is an issue. That is the biggest line of bullshit that I've ever heard in my entire life. If the narrative comes out around LSU that you see a guy, but he's got a massive buyout and you don't want to go and do it, regardless of who the guy is, and you don't want to go and spend that money to get the consistency, I am out. I am out. Because you will show me just how much let me be careful here about what I say when I say I'm out. You got to prove that you can lock this position group down. We haven't even talked about recruiting. These national recruiting sites. Oh, Lamar Brown came out here and said he still loves LSU. I'm glad he does. He's on the campus. I'm glad that he loves LSU. Go out there and make a bad hire and don't make a consistent hire. And there be continuous turmoil at that position. You're going to find out you can't rely on Baton Rouge kids that are on your campus alone to fill out that position group. There are going to be players, unfortunately, that hit the portal that you need to be developed here. You need it more than you need gumbo on a winter morning or a winter afternoon. You need it more than the Crawfish Bowl in the beginning of spring. Eric Henderson, if that's the guy that they want to go after, make it happen. But I'm going to tell you something. Let me tell you what I would do. I don't know the finances of LSU. I don't. I have no clue of where they're at. I have a pretty consistent idea of where they're going to be from money that they have to spend on their football roster. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice in this scenario anymore. So if you're going to tell me that Eric Henderson, the buyout, go suck on a banana. Go suck on a lollipop for all I care. I'm not listening to it. Eric Henderson was a name that was brought up before Bo Davis. I don't hate it, man. I wouldn't hate it. If you were able to pull that off at this late a juncture, whew. Here's what worries me about the Eric Henderson thing. What worries me about the Eric Henderson thing is this. The last time that a defensive line coach went into spring, or left in spring, I should say, you hired Jimmy Lindsey. No disrespect to Jimmy Lindsey. You should not have hired Jimmy Lindsey. It is unfortunate. It is very unfortunate that he got ill here. Very. I hate that for him. As a human being, I hate it for him. That is not the caliber of coach that you need for these young men. Guys, quite frankly, you got to turn. Larry Johnson, Carl Dornbar, I'm going after everybody. Nobody's defensive line coach is safe. If you got to make the next defensive line coach the highest paid position coach in the country, do it. Do it. If I've said this before too, I've said it a million times. A lot of people will worry about the money. Like Gerald Chapman is at Florida. If you went after a guy like Gerald Chapman, his buyout's going to be just north of $1 million. He's making I've confirmed through some agencies and some agents that he's making $575,000 a year. If you go there, if you go anywhere, you got to show that you will make the stand. You need the consistency. Let's talk about Kevin Peoples a little bit more in depth. I think Kevin Peoples, if you absolutely needed him to, would be a great last option. What do I mean by last option? I don't think Kevin Peoples wants to take over the entire defensive line room. It's a lot of recruiting that you got to get to. And quite frankly, you can't. I don't think in today's world you can do it all but with one. O-line is a different beast. It's a different beast, and it's a different player and a different caliber of player. I would not hate if Kevin Peoples did for a year have to take over the entire D-line. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. But, man, I do think about recruiting. I do think about Kevin Peoples possibly being a hot name target for other positions in other places. And God forbid, again, if Blake Baker leaves and you're back to the defensive line scenario. Again, I don't hate it. In my opinion, I don't think you can go there. As of this exact moment, I don't know where LSU goes. Now, I've been on here for 45 minutes, and we're going to get to a quick break, and I'm going to get to all of you, a lot of your comments. But, man, this is not great. This is not great at all. So, God, this sucks. It sucks. Now, I'll say this for me. If you're asking me as an individual person, a business owner, a podcaster, this is awesome for us. This is great for us. Because clicks, views, everything starts going up, baby. Yes, sir. Love it. Woohoo! As a massive fan of LSU, I want to throw up. I want to throw up. Let me ask y'all in the chat before we get to a break. Let me ask y'all this question. Do you think that the LSU defensive line room has been the biggest weakness? I'm going to ask y'all, yes or no? Yes or no? 263 against Tennessee, 274 against A&M, 255 against Georgia, 317 against Ole Miss, 288 against Alabama, 242 against A&M, 311 against Bama, 113 against Florida. And all of your losses, and every single one of your losses in the SEC, you're getting beat up front. All right. When we come back, I'm getting all your comments, thoughts, questions, concerns. Put in the super chats. Put in your thoughts, questions, concerns. We get to them next. Let me get to a quick break. Let me actually pay some bills around this thing. We'll be back next to discuss it. Stay with us. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. 7,600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements. Sources. I guess somebody on staff was listening while we were doing this show. Here's what I'm going to say as of right now. I think LSU is knocking on multiple doors to see interest for defensive line coaches around the country. I do not think that LSU is concerned if they miss because they feel as if Kevin Peoples will be okay at that position. I don't agree with it. I'd leave Kevin Peoples at the exterior. I don't think it's the worst thing. I just, for recruiting purposes, I don't like it. You got to go outside the state to get D linemen. This year, it might be okay. You got Rich Anderson. By the way, Rich Anderson's the number one recruit in your state. Now, Frank, almost said Frank Lucas. This ain't the American gangster. Frank Wilson is a big reason for Rich Anderson. Lamar Brown. Guys, it's like recruiting's a big deal. Rich Anderson is a dog. You need consistency, guys. Shit. This is bigger than Kevin Peoples. This is about the future of LSU. Don't play around with it. All right. A couple of super chats have been fired in here. Alfred Davis is a good D-line candidate from Missouri. He is a Louisiana native. He coached with Blake. Wouldn't hate it. Yeah, Adrian, I wouldn't hate it at all. I looked at Alfred's bio literally this morning because his name came up. Let's run through it. I'm gonna pull this up. But I did run through it. Alfred Davis, defensive line. God bless it. Where is it? There it is. Defensive lineman at Arkansas, too. I literally just pulled it up. Where is it? Hold on. Bear with me, guys. We'll get to your thoughts, questions, concerns here, too. All right, Al Davis. Played at the University of Arkansas. Has been with Missouri on staff since 2011, where he's a defensive assistant. He was defensive grad assistant at Arkansas from 2014 to 2016. I would want to see – I think Kevin Peoples was there around that time, too. As a player, Davis played in 49 games, including 44 career starts. After his playing career, he went to Fayetteville, coached, whatever. I mean, you're right. He's been with Blake Baker. He's been with Kevin Peoples. I think that's an easy one. I think that's an easy one to go and get. He's a defensive line coach. I mean, I wouldn't hate it, right? Like, I wouldn't hate that at all. It gives you some consistency. Here's what I'd hate. Here's what I wouldn't like about it. Does he leave, which he didn't leave Mizzou, but you went and got Bo Davis. Does he leave if Blake Baker leaves? Does he leave after a year? I mean, like, those are the questions you got to figure out here. To me, this is not a one-year hire. This is a multi-year hire. And you got to put your foot down. You got to put your foot down. Now, this is not going to make friends. Let me tell you what I do. There is somebody that I would go after. that's should be on everybody's radar. Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson has been the defensive line coach and assistant head coach at Ohio State since 2014. There have been rumblings that he's not necessarily excited or happy about the Matt Patricia deal, being the new DC at Ohio State. I do not believe that you get Larry Johnson. Let me tell you what I do. Jim Knowles is making $3.5 million and made $3.5 million to go to Penn State. I know more than $1 million seems like a lot for a position coach. Guys, considering the fact that you have had this amount of issues at DT, I'm offering him $1.75 million to close to $2 million a year to see what happens. See if the engagement goes up. Ohio State, along with Larry Johnson along their defensive line, has been elite. Not good, it's been elite. Was elite this year. You got to make a stand. I'm making them buy out $4 million. So either Larry's going to have to go to the NFL, but he's been there since 2014. The likelihood of him leaving is very slim, and I don't think that it happens. But if you ask me what the first move that I'm making would be, it's the first move that I'm making. It is the first move that I'm making. All right. We have another super chat here from Brian Turner. He says, going toe-to-toe with the veteran Clemson offensive line with a new D-line coach is not ideal. Just like Florida State, they are a line of scrimmage monster on both sides. Brian, I'm going to push back here on one thing. The defensive line, they are not right now. Can Tom Allen get that out of them? Texas had, and me and Cole Kubelik, or the Cube Show, but it was Cole Kubelik. I'm going to bring this up. Stay with me in the context. Me and Cole Kubelik had a debate yesterday on Twitter in reference to Texas. I said Josh Pate had stated that injuries don't happen when fans get in the stands. Texas lost 2 running backs in fall camp. Spring football does not limit injuries. Texas, as an example, could not run the football. Texas hosted Clemson in the first round of the playoffs, and without the kneel downs. So if you take the kneel downs away, Texas ran for 300 yards, a team that could not run the football consistently. They ran the ball for 300 yards. They physically abused Clemson. Can Tom Allen be a difference maker there? He very well could. You got the Peter kid. You got Will Helt that they got at the edge. They've got some talent. But here's the truth. Clemson physically got abused on the defensive line in front seven in every game that they lost. They do, and we have not talked a lot about Clemson. Sammy Brown, the middle linebacker, is a superstar. He is very good. Very, very, very good. In reference to their offensive line, in their 4 losses, they also got physically abused. So I don't necessarily agree that Clemson has shown over the last several years that they can be consistent enough on either lines of scrimmage. However, to Brian's point here, Brian, this is what I'd say. LSU going to make them look like a Joe Moore award-winning offensive line. If you're not careful. Let's get to a couple of these comments here. TJ Parker and Woods. Yeah, Peter Woods is a guy. Peter Woods got physically abused by backups, though. Let me make this clear. We haven't talked a lot about Clemson. Peter Woods got physically abused when Texas lost 3 offensive linemen against Clemson. Guys, if you don't remember, We do a national college football show, and we talked about this ad nauseum. 3 backup offensive linemen came in the game against Clemson, and they physically abused Clemson. A center, a guard, and a right tackle all came in as backups, and they physically abused Clemson. They abused them. Pop says, make Larry Johnson say no. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Listen, you go out there and say, listen, if we fire you, we're giving you $4 million. They're not firing Larry Johnson. We're going to give you $1.5 to $2 million a year. Guys, you have a defensive coordinator making $3.5 million a year. Bo Davis was making $1.25 million. Blake Baker's making 2.5. Like, you can't, guys, imagine this. If we're talking about money and all this kind of stuff about Larry Johnson, oh, Blake, we just can't do that for Larry Johnson. Guys, this will be the 8th, technically the 9th, because Kevin Peoples is going to be the interim. So I am going to count that. You literally are going to be on your 8th or 9th, however you want to judge it for yourself, defensive line coach in the interior. And we believe that not going out there and spending whatever a bit of money that you got to spend, that to make that room consistent with a guy that recruits like Larry Johnson, do you really believe that like money is a problem? Guys, it's been your biggest issue. You can't hold back. Jason Brumfield says, well, we still have people, so I mean, D-line will be okay, I guess. Black Connection says 2023, you got to go that far. We lost opener last year too. No. Black Connection. Let me just tell you what I didn't do. I only brought up in these defensive line statistics when it comes to rush yards per game, like I've said 5 times today, those statistics are only against SEC teams. Only against SEC teams. He also says, bro had Paez and Shan, 2 players that had no business playing, being SEC DTs. They played decent. Black Connection. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Guys, listen. In the last 5 SEC losses, last 5, let's run through them. Ole Miss, you gave up 317 rushing yards. Alabama, you gave up. By the way, Jackson Dart didn't run on you like that. Quinshon Judkins did. Don't tell me it's always the quarterback. Bullshit. Alabama, 288. A&M, 242. Bama, 311. Florida, 113. By the way, you want to hear something crazy? Florida had 75 rushing yards in 2 minutes in the fourth quarter. 75. And you held on to the football for 40 minutes. So even in the 113 that Florida had, even in that, you had the ball for 2/3 of the game, and they still ran the ball on you in the fourth quarter. I'm sure I'm making no friends on staff or anywhere talking about this, but it's the truth. And Bo developed Bro and McKinley. I like Ahmad Bro. Ahmad Bro's not a defensive tackle. He's not an SEC D tackle right now. He was the most consistent in moments. But, guys, you got to be real with yourself. He had to put on 45 to 50 pounds to play DT. He's an edge guy. Guys, let me tell you what here's what I'm not going to do. I am not going to allow anybody to come in here and say the D-line played good last year. Not in the interior, I'm not. And listen, for what it's worth, it's not all on them. Let me say it like this, too. It was not all on them. I don't think Whit Weeks played well against Ole Miss, against A&M, against Bama, or against Florida. None of them played well. This goes for your entire front seven. This goes for your safety plays, your safety play, too. By the way, you know what game I didn't put in there either? Hold on. Because you wound up winning it. You shouldn't have won it, but you did win it. South Carolina this past year ran for 243 on you. Now, you won the game, but their quarterback got hurt at halftime, and they ran all over you. Rocket Sanders had 19 carries for 143 yards, 7.5 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. Lenoris Sellers in a half had 10 carries, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He got sacked 3 times in the first half, by the way. So adjusted, he's going to have well over 100. It's not good enough, guys. It's not good enough. All right, a couple more before we get out of here. Here's an interesting one. Josh Beam says, give me Kyle Williams. He just left Ruston High School. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I made the joke about it. Because I'm in serious pain. I need a chiropractor bad. Oh. Kyle Williams. He's never recruited in college. I don't know how much of these days that matters for a guy in his instance, because he played in the NFL and a lot of this comes down to money. You'd be taking a risk. But here's the thing about Kyle Williams. I don't know why he left. People in the 318 could probably tell me better than I would know. He could solve your consistency problem. He could solve it. There is nobody with LSU connections, in my humble opinion, not even Louisiana connections, but just Louisiana connections. There's nobody that knows the position better than him. Nobody. So we'll see. Pop says there's a very good pool of coaches to go after. Got to make a statement higher at your biggest position of need and stability. I agree. And listen, I don't think you have to make it immediately. I think more than making the defensive tackle position group higher, I think you got to just make the right one. More than making a decision, we wanted to have it happen immediately so that we feel better for ourselves. What you cannot have happen is you make a hire immediate and then it be the wrong decision. Guys, quite frankly, I hate to say this. Quite frankly, Bo Davis was not, because of the way it played out, was not a great decision for you, because he left and the room didn't get better and he didn't develop it. There are some pieces that you can come in there and develop. That room has more depth in it than it ever has. Did any of these guys leave in spring? It's going to be a question. All right. Last one. Nick Hawkins says, hashtag ask Blake, was Eric Henderson at UTSA when Frank was the head coach there? I think so. Either he played for Frank. Guys, I am in serious fucking pain. Yeah, what 2016 was a defensive line coach for Frank. Went to the Chargers, went to the Rams. Everybody goes with him with the Rams. Guys, he had the best defensive tackle in our generation outside of Warren Sapp. And Aaron Donald. God, I'm in fucking pain. Rumble Road says, how does LSU stop being a stopgap for defensive line coaches? This used to be a premium job, and now it's a turnstile. You want me to tell you how? Let me tell you how. You go out and spend a ridiculous amount of money, and you don't let any fans or boosters tell you what they think about it, because you got to make a statement. Any booster or any fan that's dumb enough to believe that you don't need stability here is an idiot. I'm sorry. It's the truth. You gotta go get stability, man. You have to. So listen, man, we'll see. All right. I gotta go like take a gummy or something. I'm hurting. All right. We'll see y'all tonight, man. Y'all have a good one. We'll continue to monitor and talk about this defensive line coaching position. I'm sure we'll be back tonight. We'll have some baseball stuff to talk about too. Until then, we'll see y'all soon. You have a good one. Peace.